Here is an intro that I have not done in a long time, and it's going to feel very surreal for me to do this again. But 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM, we are live, back on the air, one night only. And
We back.
honestly, there's not a lot of people that can get me out of hip hop retirement, but we got Cleveland, Ohio's own, the legend himself. We got K Chill right here on the radio. Chill, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, man. Like I said, I'm at my family annual cookout picnic, and it's going, man.
Hey, man. Well, you know what? It's a great time for you to celebrate. I know yesterday you just dropped that phenomenal single. I know we're going to be getting into that here in the interview. But before we get into the new stuff, bro, we got to talk a little bit about the old stuff, man, because people down here in Canada might not know who the icon K Chill is. But I want to take you back way before the multi platinum hits, before Bone Thugs and Harmony. I got to ask, man, what inspired all this hip hop stuff for yourself, K Chill, man? What sparked you to get into hip hop originally?
You talking about originally it was
Originally, way back, man, way back.
it's all in the book. Yeah, looking out the school window and seeing like teenagers dragging a piece of cardboard down the street and wondering like what is they about to do with that, and then getting out of school and walking past them and they out there breakdancing. And then we had this new thing of ours in the streets where it was ours, you know what I'm saying? So the original albums that one could get their hands on, from Fat Boys, Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Skinny Boys, uh, you know, Sugar Hill. I mean, but the original ones that first hit Cleveland, it was a handful, EPMD, different ones, but just having something to ourselves. I grew up when it was nothing but soft rock and rock on the radio. You know what I mean? So when we first got a channel and where I could hear, hip hop on, it was, that's what got me into it originally, just it being just a fresh new thing, man. I was always quick with it and like developed a mean freestyle. So it was just like, something I could do like real good. You know what I mean? Got into junior high and, meet the the uh the guys who really forged the dream with me, which was, Crazy Bone, Lazy Bone, Flesh and Bone, Wish, you know, uh the Band-Aid Boys, and being able to, do things with that and just like real quick, the city knew we was hot type, so it was like I guess that's why, not to be long-winded about it, but I began to just love it even more because one thing is something you can admire from afar, but when you find out you could do it, then you already know.
And also, man, speaking of just already doing it, man, in the year 1992, you released the amazing cassette tape that was an EP called The Chill Factor on Jam It Records. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us the story behind this iconic tape. And did you have any idea that it would resonate with your fans the way it did so early on in your career?
Uh, I mean, the hindsight being 2020, I was I'm gonna always say yeah, because even now, like I'm not putting out music for it not to bubble. You know what I mean? Like, um, I don't see how any MC or rapper or lyricist, whatever you want to call yourself, I don't see how anybody can put something out just to be putting something out. So to answer your question, the chill factor, I had those demos in the streets copied from beatbox to beatbox or double cassette to double cassette. Like that shit was in the streets. Is this we could talk freely? Or
Oh, most definitely. We're completely under censor, man. So definitely go
okay.
for it.
Okay, yeah, so it was in the streets. It was in the streets already, but the way it came about was I was in Glenville High School and my guy Marlon got behind me. Ted Ginn got behind me. He's a famous football coach from Glenville High School that won a bunch of state championships and got a pipeline to Ohio State with kids into the NFL from my neighborhood, from the Glenville neighborhood. So if Canada don't know about Ted Ginn, do your research. Um, but yeah, they got behind me financially and everything. And then I was able to go in the studio and then turn it into a real product. And yeah, I mean, it took off. And the thing about it, it was like no blueprint back then. It was like, if you want to hear a funny story about it, I when I say okay, bam, we went through the Band-Aid Boys and everything, and battle rapping and being known as the rappers in the city. I said, okay, I'm ready to be a rapper, and to show you how different the times are, I got in the yellow pages, and I know I'm dating myself because y'all don't know what the yellow pages are, you know what I'm saying? But I got in the yellow pages and looked up studios. I said, I'm gonna be a rapper. I just figured I could look up a studio, go drop a couple bars, and they was gonna be like, yeah, you it, let's go. And that's how it all happened. Ted again and Martin threw a couple dollars behind me. And then also five of my friends from the neighborhood, Phil Mosley, Rodney, Wink, Bob, Nor, they would give me, they was working regular jobs for teenagers like McDonald's or whatever. They would give me like $20 a piece out of their checks. And I was able to go in the studio and put the Chill Factor together. And when it dropped, it was surreal because I'd be walking home from school and the older doughboys would be driving by me, bumping it in their cars and shit. And like, I remember the first time hearing it on the radio, and this is how you know when God got his hand on your life. Even the simple things, you gotta have your antennas up. But me and Pratt from Brothers for the Struggle is standing outside on 99th, and Pratt, we in the car. Pratt see some girls walking, we pulled up on them, and Pratt like, hey, y'all don't know who this is right here? Like, this K Chill. Well, I normally would be, I just be chill, so I wouldn't say too much. But you like, yeah, this K Chill, boom, and the girls was like, K Chill, who is K Chill? And Lynn Tolliver from 93 FM at the time. It was like on cue, the radio, like, coming up next, we got the new K Chill, and it was over, you know what I mean? Like shit like that.
And I gotta say, man, before we move off the topic of that record, "Boom Boom Boom Boom's in My Trunk," man, is honestly the best track off that entire EP, bro.
Yeah, no, that's what did it. That was the little hood classic. Boom Boom's in the trunk, you know what I mean? Like, I was a kid, so I was heavily influenced by what was happening in the streets and the culture around me, and just dudes with fly ass cars just bumping loud music, and that's what we idolized, you know what I'm saying? That's what we wanted to be like, you know what I mean? So before I even had Boom Booms in the trunk, I made that song, you know what I mean? Later on in a year or so, I had probably 5, 6 cars with sounds and rims and everything, you know what I mean? Like in them days. Like I can remember I was doing too much for sure.
And also, as well, as we mentioned as well, that album was released on Jam It Recordings. I was wondering, how did you actually get in contact back in the day with that label? Because in the late '80s and '90s, man, that label had almost everybody. So many icons from Cleveland, Ohio, actually signed to that record label, man. How did they ultimately discover you?
So I had already knew about like Scott and Raven and Johnny Yo and the Psycho Unit, Sorcerer Crew at the time, being on Jam It. And, Kermit had a reputation for making shit happen in the music. But the way it happened was I got in them yellow pages. I got in touch with a studio called Brainbow and a guy named Andre Clark. He called me in there, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm about to get signed. Like I was so naive, I thought a studio could sign you to a record deal. So I just go in there and of course find out, like I say, it's $20 an hour, and then I'm getting the money from my guys and Gin and Marlon. And that album was not on Jam It originally. It was independent. And then as it got known, Kermit caught wind, and Kermit actually bought my contract from Andre Clark for like 5,000 and some keyboard they wanted for the studio. So that's how I linked with Kermit, you know what I mean? And, you know, I guess that's how the album got switched to Jam It, but then we start working on the second at that point.
And when you actually mentioned that that EP was originally independent, I know you mentioned as well that that song was all across the radio out there in Cleveland, Ohio. Boom Boom's in my trunk. With that being said, before you even met Kermit and the whole crew, how did you actually land that on radio? Did you actually go to the radio station and just be like,
Oh
"Hey, man, this is
man.
my demo. Like, can you spin this?" Or like, how did that work? Because a lot of radio stations, man, wouldn't take tapes or CDs
Nah,
right from people
it,
off the street, right?
bro, you asking great questions because the single I just dropped is called God's Plan, and these stories that I'm telling you now is all how I even saw that it was God's plan. And let me say I've been doing podcasts and interviews all week, and these questions so far, you putting me on a path with proof that it was God's plan. But that all went on. But you were saying about
Oh,
what was
sorry.
it?
How Boom Boom's in my trunk actually got on the
Right.
radio since it was independent.
Right. Okay, bam. And I had to get a long ass introduction and lose my train of thought. But yeah,
It's all good,
I
man.
owe it all, and it's God's plan. I owe it all to my community, the Glenville community. It started. This is how I got the plug. This is the story. I was in Glenville. I was in the ninth grade, and I was in this club called the Radio Club. I guess a lot of high schools have them. We would make the morning announcements, play some music, and DJ all the parties and everything for the school. And it was like a contest that 93 was having where it was like who could make the best like high school anthem. And at the time, our football coach, Coach Hubbard, before Ginn was my JV coach. Hub was the varsity coach at the time, and he wasn't feeling good. He was in the hospital, and we had that going on and everything. So I had made this little Glenville anthem off of that. Keep on moving, don't stop. I'm off of that beat, and I put Hub in there, wished him well. I remember some of the lyrics. Coach Hubbard, the brothers, they love you like no other. So when you come home, don't stutter, scream, tar blood. And it was going. It was hard. So we sent it in. And once again, Lynn Tolliver loved that shit. Like every week on Saturday, you would listen to what high school had their song on there. But once we sent that shit in, he'll play that shit over and over and over. Like, and I even caught my son, hold on, I don't want to interrupt the story. Son, fuck your head in, man. Sorry, our next artist we got coming, Taboo.
What's up, dude?
He'll be coming out, and we got Tajor, Lazy Son coming out. But yeah, Lynn Tolliver loved that shit so much that when I came with a real demo that was mine, it was just, you know what I mean? It was already, oh, you that kid from Glenville? Oh yeah, say less. Yeah. Fred the Jammer, Mick Boogie, you know what I mean? Uh, Scratchmaster L, like all the DJs on the radio during the decades I've been doing this shit have been showing love and always, like right now I got Nerve DJ group behind me heavy, you know what I mean? I got Alabama Fleet DJs riding with me heavy, you know what I mean? So it ain't no stopping, but that's how it's always been, man. Anybody out here who think they doing this shit by themselves is a fucking fool. Like it's always God, your community, your niggas, your family. It's always the energy of everybody that's feeling what you're doing. And if it when rappers can't get on and they can't understand why, they just feel like I'm the coldest nigga on earth, but it ain't happening. 97% of the time, it's their own internal energy. Cause they might be the coldest nigga on earth, you know what I mean? But their energy just, you know what I mean? You can't, I don't know somebody powerful enough in the world to force everybody into their drink. You know what I'm saying? You might be powerful enough to force 10 people into your dream, 20 people, 30, maybe 40. Maybe you could make 500 people drink poison Kool-Aid. But ultimately, uh, to become Drake or somebody, that take a force of energy. You know what I mean? That take Michael Jackson. That take a collective force of energy. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't want to get too deep.
But also as well, man, in the year 1993, so just after, a year after you dropped the Chill Factor, you also did production work on Southpaw's album called Left Hand Rule. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that opportunity and what was it like working with two members of the Apex crew out there in the studio?
Man, it was awesome. To keep it a buck, like I really ain't had to do too much with Southpaw because Will Champion always was a dog. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it was more overseeing of everything going smoothly type shit or whatever. But I do produce music and I produce a lot of everything I always had. It was to the point like off Chill Factor and some of them albums, I was so naive again. I never knew I was on that Kanye shit, like producing and writing. I just figured every rapper had their idea for their beat. I would come in, beatbox that shit, hum the bass line, say I want the strings doing this, and Dave Paisley freaked that shit for me. You know what I'm saying? So that's co-production, but like Southpaw built the last. Uh, Lil Nina, MCM, and the whole roster. We had D Black over there, co-running shit. Like, you know, in a perfect world, that would have been Jammit, Stony Burke, all that shit would have been where you hired all of us before. You know what I mean? Before it took my little niggas to get out here and put the light on Cleveland.
And I gotta say, man, you can't go wrong with Southpaw, man. That album is so hard to find today. I've tried to tracking that down another copy for years, man. I'm telling you, Discogs, those sellers, they want way too much for that album, man. I'm hoping one just pops up, but I'm telling you, man, it's definitely one hell of a phenomenal record.
Man, it's a phenomenal album. They had that whole you know, New York, De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Q-Tip and them vibe, like, and they were so like the future of what that whole vibe would have became, I feel like. The bad thing about the 90s was they made the world feel like if you wasn't doing gangster shit, you wasn't a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like we all know, like powers that be do shit like that. You can't turn the light switch off on a genre of music unless you got the power to do that. So all of a sudden, it went from take me to another place to you gotta have on that black tee. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, you know what I mean? We was already, I dress like this my whole life, but like just to be a buck, there's nothing wrong with trap gangster shit and the shit we do or whatever. I don't really do. I feel like my music now is more just real. You know what I mean? And I know everybody feel like they real, but you gotta hear my album, you know what I'm talking about. But like, there's nothing wrong with any genre of our game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love trap shit, gangster shit, peaceful shit, funny shit, dance shit. You know what I'm saying? I love all that shit. The problem becomes when, and hopefully it'll never happen again. Hopefully we all smart enough to not let this shit happen to our thing again. But it just can't be where it's one faceted and we let powers that be say, no, that's what hip hop is. If you ain't out here with a gun or smoking a blunt, you ain't hip hop. You know what I mean? Shit, hip hop always been all of that and above. You know what I mean?
I agree, man. There's always five elements of hip hop. You know what I mean? Some people don't realize it's not just the rapping, man. It's also the DJing, it's the graffiti, all that stuff, man. That's hip
Oh
hop,
yeah.
man. It's a
Oh
whole,
yeah.
it's on a community, man. It's a culture, in my
It's
opinion.
the culture, it's the dress, it's the language, and nobody has the right to shut down anybody else's expression of that. You know what I mean? Like nobody has the right to do that shit. So they asked me on the podcast the other night, would I rather pick 90s Cleveland or now Cleveland? And I had to think about that shit for a hot second. And even though I love, you know, I guess my fundamental years, shit, we was doing a lot of shit wrong in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like he was doing we was doing a lot of shit fucked up, you know what I'm saying? So like I gotta go with the new wave all the time. You gotta stay progressive and that should apply to this hip hop shit. Like if you I mean, you know what I mean, how you gonna get out here and be, imagine Curtis Blow come back out here and he's still or not even Melly Mel or whoever. You know what I mean? Melly Mel drops some shit, he's not gonna be out here talking about you know what I'm saying? It's like, Busta was ever able to stay relevant so long by mastering his flow and that shit being applicable in any decade. You know what I'm saying? Too Short by just staying too short. You know what I mean? These are people who could jump on anything, any year. You know what I mean? Like, so I just try to be like classic like that, where I'm just being myself. I remember going in the lab on them early Chill Factor sections and trying to sound like Cube and trying to sound like LL, and then the engineers be like, "What happened to the way you was practicing it in here?" Like, bro, that's your voice. You know what I'm saying? So nobody's voice should be shut down.
And also, man, in the early 90s, you actually got linked up with Bone Enterprise, known to the world now as Bone Thugs and Harmony, where you did work on their Faces of Death album that dropped in 95. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us the story behind your relationship with Bone Thugs. And of course, how did you ultimately meet that phenomenal, iconic crew back in the 90s?
So, like I said, junior high, everybody. I mean, I don't say everybody because we kind of assume, but people know the story. We was all in junior high. We was the lunch table that rap. You know what I mean? Everybody else, you got the athletes, you got the hustlers, and we was like the rappers. We was cool niggas. Everybody knew. Everybody fucked with and respected. And we really linked up to rap just for the talent show. Like we would fuck with it like every day, but we didn't really form like the Band Aid Boys for nothing more than just to win this talent show. And other than that, these was my guys. We play together, hang together, be in the streets together, be at each other's houses. You know what I mean? In different times growing up, it'd be me and one and the other one more than the other one. Like me and Aunt was in the same school a couple times and lived down the street from each other on 93rd. So we hung out a lot. You know what I mean? Then I met Steve and Stan, and then we just became like instant brothers. And then through them met CC, and then later on here come Busy. But how it all happened was, uh, Lay. I hadn't seen him in a minute because Lay went through his Texas situation, and uh, by the time it's the crack era and everything, and everybody is doing what they doing, and by the time all that went down, I hooked up with Kermit. Kermit would throw these talent shows where either me or Brothers for the Struggle or both of us would be like the main feature or whatever. And it would be a talent show featuring Brothers for the Struggle or K Chill or Brothers for the Struggle and K Chill. And, it'll bring them out. So we throwing one of these contest talent shows, however you want to say it, and it's like a $50 entry fee. And I'm there helping Kermit judge the entrance one time. And bam, out of nowhere, I see Lay. And I'm like, oh shit. And, it was just like, boom, we dapping, hugging and shit. And Lay like, yeah, I'm about to get in this talent show. I'm like, shit, nigga, you in the talent show. Don't even worry about that shit. And bam, then Kermit kind of made Lay like my hype man at first. Like, that was like instant. Like, I ain't gonna put it like that. Kermit ain't making my hype man. It was just like I was doing concerts and shit. I needed a hype man, so it was like Lay was there. He was perfect. So we did that for a hot second, and I think they was in the background. They was working on the whole phone situation, and that you know we just brought them on board. But I think first Lay was supposed to did a solo album like after me. Like Lay was supposed to be coming next or something like that. But then we just switched gears to the Bone album, and I'm on there. I'm the executive producer of that album, And uh, so you like people want to know my role in it, like was just kind of the same thing with Southpaw, like linked up with Archie Blaine, Bobby and different people, DJ Quick, different people in different studios, and I would pretty much just be facilitating, making sure they was at the studio on time, making sure they wrote like a whole album in my townhouse on 88th Street. So we were, pre-production, I was doing a hell of a lot. Post-production, everybody know I didn't draw that album cover, but I went to Kinko's and put it all together and superimposed, the not Skeletor, I was about to call him Skeletor. What is his name? The Grim Reaper. And,
Yeah, the Reaper. Yeah.
yeah, I imposed that like that was done at Kinko's, and we got that piece of art from my guy. I always forget his name, but the fans know his name. And bam, so that basically once again, I didn't make one beat on that project or anything. You know what I'm saying? I didn't make a song. I didn't co-write shit. I ain't, you know what I'm saying? All I did was facilitate it and put some money into it. And then, bam. So now at that point, we feel like we live in our dream where, we out here doing. Matter of fact, we came to Canada. You know what I'm saying? We came to Canada, I think, with DJ Quick, I want to say.
Oh, nice. Whereabouts in Canada did you guys hit?
Oh my God, man. I don't even remember, man. That's a Kermit question. I can remember we rolled up in Kermit Astro van and Kermit Lexus. And it wasn't like it took forever, so we had to be somewhere close. It was probably like it might have took we was in one of the big cities. Is Toronto close from Cleveland?
That I don't know. I do know. I think Toronto is right across. I know Windsor, Ontario, is relatively close to Toronto, and that's on Windsor is directly across from Detroit, Michigan.
Okay,
Honestly, man, I failed geography, bro. That's why I'm in radio.
No, it had to be something like that because I can remember we maybe jogged for 4 or 5 hours or some shit like that. It wasn't that long. I remember that. But yeah, we was in Canada doing our little promo tours and shit, and that's how that all happened.
And if you want me asking, what could you tell us a bit more about actually about your group you started, man? Because I got to say, there was obviously some like tension between you guys, but you guys did your group did a lot of amazing things as well, dude.
Yeah, we for a quick time, so the whole thing was like, and I'm gonna just leave a lot of it in the book because we got to sell the book, but mainly my little brother Brandon's friends got at me. A couple of them like, yo, you got to get back in the studio. Like, cause I never stopped writing. I never stopped freestyle. I never stopped doing this shit every day, even recently. So they would be like, yeah, they would come through and get some weed or something and be like, hey, you gotta, they hear me spit something. They be like, man, you gotta get back in the lab. You tripping. And I'm like, they had asked me for like so many years, maybe 2 years or so. I'm like, man, all right, I'm gonna do that shit, but y'all got to do it with me. You know what I'm saying? Because my whole thought process was, I'm so cold with this shit, I could come back out and not even BK chill and still get back to the top. So it was like a test within myself. So we just made a group called Black Money Entertainment. We was giving back half of our proceeds from every show to, I say charity, but for real, sometimes I just be like, man, I know somebody got a bill. I know somebody got a light bill due or something. Them little shows when we made $1,000 or something, I just get somebody 500 for something for a bill or something. We just always try to give back to the community. But got with Black Money, we I came up with this alter ego, Kaiser Chill Say. And Kaiser was an animal. That was all my animosity and anger. And yeah, that's who everybody want to hear Kaiser. I ain't gonna say everybody, but people that know want to hear Kaiser right now. But Kaiser is dead now because Chill is in a good spot right now. But on that shit, yeah. So back to that, I never even said K Chill nowhere on them products, I don't think. And we end up getting Mick Boogie, who go by the name DJ Mick. He do like Super Bowl commercials and shit. He's like a world famous DJ. He do Kanye mixtapes sometimes, Jay-Z, all that during them time. He did like 2 or 3 mixtapes on us. We dropped an album called Black Precedents. And we, in a short time, won Rebel Army Radio group, Best New Group, Song of the Year for the song we had called VIP with my cousin Jahi. We we ended up having a crazy ass year, and then we ended up on the Bone tour at the end of the year. That was 2010. And that was like the beginning of us warming up, you know what I'm saying, to each other again and like trying to work this shit out. Cause we never a lot of me and Lay had conversations that I never speak on in the interview because they personal. But I can sit here and say a million things about why this, why that. Then I could also look at myself and say, man, I could have just did whatever the hell I had to do without, you know what I'm saying, without my dudes, you know what I'm saying? So same time, we always gotta look internally and say, shit, what we could have did to make something bubble. You know what I'm saying? Like even now, just because Lay co-signed for me, that don't mean, that mean a lot. But that don't mean that's not a guarantee. You know what I'm saying? If I lay in the bed every day because I got a lazy cosign, what is that gonna do? You know what I'm saying? If I don't do all these interviews, if I don't get out here and promote, you know what I'm saying? If I don't, do the ground, they say prayer without work is dead. I got that tattoo. I don't know if you can see it. Well, you can't see it. I got a prayer hands minus a hammer equal a coffin. And that means prayer minus work is dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you pray all day talking about I want to be a rapper and God got a kid to feed in Ethiopia, you think he give a fuck you want to be a rapper? Unless you in the studio, unless you in the studio. Now, if you pray every day and you in the studio every day and you writing every day and you getting with producers every day and you calling DJs every day, he gonna see that shit and he gonna throw you the little sprinkle of magic on there and you gonna be good. But if you just sitting there, it's not gonna happen.
And with all that being said, what you just described is God's plan. And speaking of God's plan, just yesterday on June 29th, you released a brand new single alongside your homie Lazy Bone of Bone Thugs and Harmony called God's Plan. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about this amazing song and what was it like just being back in the studio working with Lazy on this amazing track?
The whole thing been great because first you start with the fact that, me and one of my good friends in life is back kicking it, chopping it up on the phone every day and back with each other's back, you know what I'm saying? And as far as the process, that's been amazing too, just bouncing ideas off each other so fast and sharpening each other up is, like the way our voices blend together, you know what I'm saying? Like it has been like amazing. Him getting us DJ Quick beats and Swiss beats and I got DJ Payne on board and Eric Wilson from Scratch Paper Productions. And it's just been crazy, man. Like, I really believe we got Grammy nomination type music. Like, I mean, man, I mean, it's good music and I've been doing this shit a long time. You know what I mean? Like, I know the difference. Like, we got Grammy level shit. You know what I'm saying? Terrible bass. My brother back. Let's go and me and just my brother's keeper. And what it is, and back to uh, if without doing the work yourself, you just can't sit there and wait on something or whatever. But like the whole thing being back with the squad, you know what I'm saying, being squatted up, us chopping it up, us just being back, you know what I'm saying, together because, oh yeah, I lost my train of thought, but I remember now. I was just gonna say, like, looking back at it, I would not have had this shit no other way because, I end up, having a family and building businesses and uh just I feel like becoming wise enough to even make the album I've made and know what to do with the blessings behind it. You know what I'm saying? So looking back on it, man, me and Lay talked about this. Like, man, ain't no telling what would have happened if Young K Chill would have got on. You know what I mean? Thank God that it be in his time and not ours. You know what I'm saying? If Young K Chill got on, with my two girls be out here running around playing on the swing set, you know what I mean? Well, will my boy be in college right now? Would they be here? You know what I mean? Would the humbling experiences and the life lessons I had to learn, what I had learned, you know what I mean? It's a lot to this. So like I'm happy it worked out like this. Hey man, I don't even think I could have made this album. No, I mean, it ain't even no thing. I couldn't have made this album no other time in my life. You know what I mean? Everything God taught me in all them studio sessions and all them years and in the streets, that's all what came together right now. Like I say, I don't know what next year hold, because after my album and book and me and Lazy album, I mean, you know what I mean? I can't say, you know what I mean? I stay on the last song on the album, I might make 7 million and disappear.
And one of the last questions I have for you tonight, man. Obviously, I know how to follow you on social media, but for the people here that are like listening on the radio and might just I hate to say this, man. We're a hip hop station, but might just be discovering you tonight. If they are, we are an old school hip hop station. I don't know where you've been. You've probably been under a rock or something, but it's okay. Not everybody knows everybody, man. But how do we follow you across all social media platforms so we can stream God's plan? God, get more updates on that book. And of course, that album, man, that brand new album that you got cooking in the pot of gumbo.
Yeah, we about to make St. Clair great again, man. You could go to the Lazy Bone 99 site, lazybone99.com site, grab that Dash album. You know what I mean? Lazy is Ill Burner Lazy, and futuristic Lazy on that moist. Like you gonna hear what you love about him, you gonna hear what you ain't expect. You know what I mean? Definitely hit that up, grab you some merch, cause he got some incredible merch right now. Uh as far as for me, you can catch me at the Real K Chill on Instagram and TikTok, and Christopher K Chill Ford on Facebook. Christopher with a K Chill Ford. Mainly the Real K Chill is my social media though, and as far as my song with Lazy Bone, God's Plan is streaming everywhere right now. Um, when the album and the book drop, it'll be everywhere. August 1st. It'll be Amazon, all the streaming platforms, everything. I'm gonna probably have stuff on that Lazy Bone 99 site. Hopefully I got a site set up by then. You will be able to catch Lazy stuff on my site. And we doing all the cross promotions, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna make St. Clair great again, man. And ultimately, we putting out classic, timeless music. You know what I mean? When I say make St. Clair great again, it ain't a knock on nobody, you know what I mean? Bone made St. Clair great, but St. Clair been dry for a long time, and St. Clair represent Cleveland. So, when I say make St. Clair great again, for the city, I want y'all to know my sentiment is all of us. You know what I'm saying? Let's make the city great again. Let's make the state, and let that shit reverberate. Let's make the country great again. You know what I mean?
And I gotta say, Well, I gotta say first and foremost, Chill, thank you so much for your time here tonight, man. I've been a huge fan of your career since way back in the day, man. So just knowing that you're doing more music with Lazy Bone, God's Plan, I'm super stoked for the album, and I'm really excited to get my hands on a copy of that book come August, man. But for now, have yourself a phenomenal night and enjoy what's left of the family cookout there, man. Hopefully there's still food left, man. Hopefully I didn't keep you too long, dude.
Hey, I had the itis when we started. I've been done, bro. I've been done. No more food for me. I want to say thanks for having me. God bless. I want everybody out here to, what I mean, get behind us. And we owe everything to y'all. You know what I mean? I really be I'm a regular guy, you know what I'm saying? And I just I'd be amazed that people even would care or want to know. So I love that shit. If I'd have ever knew my my albums would be cross seas and overseas and everything, like man, ain't no chance. Hopefully I'd have been the K Chill you getting on this new album, or, hindsight 2020, but now you getting that K Chill, you getting this new Lazy Bone, like that's just my God. Like when you hear Lazy, like you gonna yeah, so rock with us, man. And I appreciate y'all that been rocking with us.
Hey man, you already know, dude. You keep making it. We here at Outlaw Radio FM are gonna keep spinning it, man. Have yourself a phenomenal night, and hopefully down the line we can link up and do this all over again sometime soon, man. But for now, have yourself a great night, dude.
You too in a minute.